Chloe and Paige, Abby's least favorite, fans' most loved white heavy checkmark. From the very first episode of Dance Moms, two things were clear. Abby Lee Miller had her favorites, and then she had Chloe and Paige. These two sweet, smiley girls were often overlooked, underestimated, and, let's be real, blatantly ignored by their dance teacher. But while Abby might have dismissed them week after week, fans of the show instantly fell in love with Chloe and Paige, the quiet underdogs who became cult favorites. So how did these two dancers go from the bottom of the pyramid to the top of everyone's hearts? Buckle up. It's time to revisit the chaos, the unfairness, and the unbreakable friendship of Chloe and Paige. Second best from the start, Chloe's constant comparison to Maddie. Abby's obsession with Maddie Ziegler was no secret. She called Maddie the whole package, gave her endless solos, and practically crowned her the studio's golden child. And right behind her, often literally one step behind, was Chloe. Talented, graceful, and consistently placing in competitions, Chloe should have been celebrated. Instead, she was constantly used as a pawn, either to motivate Maddie, she's coming for your spot, or to create drama. Why didn't you beat Maddie? Chloe's mom, Christy, became a vocal advocate for her daughter, calling out Abby's favoritism in nearly every episode. But even with Christy fighting tooth and nail, Chloe was regularly undermined. Judges praised her. Fans loved her. But Abby? She still found a way to turn every win into a loss. Remember when Chloe finally beat Maddie and Abby called it a fluke? Classic ALDC gaslighting. Paige versus the impossible. How do you shine when you never get a chance? Paige had the unfortunate title of being Brooke's little sister and Kelly's younger daughter. And in Abby's eyes, that was basically a curse. While other dancers were given complex solos, show-stopping duets, and elaborate costumes, Paige got, well, whatever was left over. Her choreography was simple, sometimes embarrassingly so. Her music was repetitive. And half the time, she was scolded before she even got a chance to dance. But Paige wasn't talentless, not even close. She had great lines, adorable stage presence, and a bright, bubbly spark. The problem? Abby never gave her a fair shot. Whether it was reusing a dance from a year prior or assigning her a prop solo that made no sense, Paige was always set up to fail. And when she finally stood up for herself, like when she refused to use a chair in a dance that made her uncomfortable, Abby snapped. The punishment? More yelling, more belittling, and more time at the bottom of the pyramid. Shocking. The pyramid system was stacked, and Chloe and Paige were always near the bottom. The pyramid. That little foam board of emotional manipulation disguised as a ranking system. Every week, Abby would unveil the pyramid, and every week Chloe and Paige could expect to be at the bottom, regardless of how they danced, what they placed, or how hard they worked. There were episodes where Chloe placed first overall at a competition and still landed in the middle or bottom of the pyramid. Meanwhile, Maddie could mess up on stage, cry during rehearsal, and somehow still be top tier. The same pattern applied to Paige. Even when she nailed her routines or took home a trophy, Abby had an excuse. You didn't stand out, you need more confidence, or the classic, you're not hungry enough. The message was clear. Chloe and Paige could never do enough to win Abby's approval. But what they did win was fan loyalty, and that's something no pyramid could measure. BFF energy. Chloe and Paige's unshakable bond. One of the brightest spots in all the chaos? Chloe and Paige's best friend energy. They weren't just teammates. They were ride or die. Whether they were laughing backstage, comforting each other after being yelled at, or sneaking snacks during rehearsals, their bond was unbreakable. And when one of them was hurt, the other felt it too. Remember when Chloe was pulled from a duet for not being ready? Paige was devastated, not because she didn't get to dance, but because her best friend was humiliated. That's the kind of loyalty you can't fake. Fans picked up on this instantly. Edits of Chloe and Paige went viral. Tumblr and Twitter were flooded with gifs of their backstage hugs, whispered pep talks, and hilarious one-liners. They weren't just dancers. They were sisters. The Kelly Christy factor, moms who didn't play Abby's games. Part of what made Chloe and Paige's story so iconic was the fact that their moms, Christy and Kelly, were just as unfiltered as their daughters were sweet. These two women weren't afraid to speak up, especially when their kids were being treated unfairly. Christy challenged Abby on her favoritism weekly, never backing down from a fight. Kelly, on the other hand, often reached a boiling point, whether she was yelling from the audience or storming out of rehearsals. Their friendship was just as fierce as their daughters, and their loyalty to each other and their girls was legendary. Of course, this only made Abby resent them more. The more Christy and Kelly pushed back, the harsher Abby became. It was a vicious cycle, one that led to many screaming matches, walkouts, and infamous "I'm done" moments. But through it all, Chloe and Paige remained graceful, loyal, and totally unproblematic. The chairs, the lockers, and the lawsuits. Paige's breaking point. Let's talk about the chairs. Yes, the chairs. One of the most disturbing moments on the show came when Abby choreographed a number for Paige using multiple chairs, a prop-heavy, physically demanding routine with barely any rehearsal time. Paige expressed discomfort. Her mom voiced concerns. But Abby didn't budge. The pressure spiraled into anxiety and even panic attacks. It wasn't just about a dance anymore. It was about a toxic environment that took a toll on a literal child. Eventually, Paige and her family had enough. Kelly pulled her daughters from the studio for good, and the fallout was explosive. Things escalated further when Paige filed a lawsuit against Abby, claiming emotional distress and abuse. It was a jaw-dropping turn of events, but one that fans completely understood. After years of being berated, belittled, and ignored, Paige finally had her moment of power, off stage and in real life. Chloe's final straw. The national solo drama. If Paige had her chair moment, Chloe had her national solo moment, and it was devastating. After being told she would perform at nationals, Chloe prepped for the biggest routine of her life. But at the last minute, Abby pulled the plug. No solo. No explanation. It was a humiliating public takedown, one that crushed Chloe's spirit and left fans fuming. The message was loud and clear. No matter how hard Chloe worked, Abby would never let her shine. Soon after, Chloe and Christy left the show. The exit was emotional and raw, but also deeply satisfying. Chloe walked out with dignity. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just knew her worth and decided to stop settling for less. Where they are now, thriving, glowing, and still fan favorites. Today, both Chloe and Paige are thriving. Chloe has stepped into a modeling career, done acting work, published a book, and become a mental health advocate. She's open about her dance mom's trauma and has used her platform to uplift others. Fans continue to support her every move, from brand deals to red carpet moments. Paige, meanwhile, took a more private route. She focused on school, graduated college, and now lives a low-key but happy life. Her glow-up? Iconic. And fans still reference her time on the show as a major reason they even watched in the first place. And their friendship? Still going strong. Chloe, Paige, Brooke, and Nia have had multiple reunions, and they always post the sweetest throwbacks. It's clear that while the ALDC may have ended, the bonds they built there never will. Why fans still root for them, and always will. Chloe and Paige represented everything Dance Moms wasn't supposed to be about: kindness, loyalty, resilience, and grace under fire. They didn't scream. They didn't cheat. They didn't sabotage others. They just danced, smiled, and tried their best, even when the odds were stacked against them. And that's why fans love them. Because while Abby was busy building a winning team, Chloe and Paige were showing us what real strength looks like. Underscore 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 bottom of the pyramid, top of our heart's red heart. Chloe and Paige might have been Abby's least favorite dancers, but they'll always be at the top of our pyramid. They endured years of favoritism, screaming matches, and impossible expectations, and still came out stronger. Underscore 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 underscore. Maddie and Chloe, best friends, bitter rivals, and everything in between. In the cutthroat world of dance moms, one of the most complicated and captivating relationships was between Maddie Ziegler and Chloe Lekasiak. These two dancers started as close friends, sharing everything from backstage moments to dance routines. But as time went on, the tension between them grew. Best friends? Sometimes. Bitter rivals? Absolutely. And yet, in the world of Abby Lee Miller's dance studio, nothing was ever as simple as it seemed. This is the story of Maddie and Chloe's friendship, rivalry, and everything in between. Buckle up, because this is one emotional roller coaster. Underscore 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 underscore. The beginning. A friendship built on competition. When Maddie Ziegler first stepped into the spotlight on Dance Moms, she wasn't just another dancer in the ALDC. She was Abby's golden child, the one she showered with praise, attention, and most importantly, solos. At the same time, Chloe Lekasiak had already established herself as a talented dancer, graceful, expressive, and absolutely capable of taking home the title of Best Dancer any day. At first, their relationship was simple. They were teammates, friends, and had the mutual respect that only dancers can understand. Maddie would often look up to Chloe's experience, and Chloe could see Maddie's natural talent. There were moments of genuine camaraderie between them, like when Maddie would share how much she admired Chloe's technique, and Chloe would help Maddie perfect a tricky move. But as Maddie started to outshine her in Abby's eyes, the tension between them began to grow. Underscore 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 underscore. The Maddie versus Chloe showdown begins. Abby's favoritism takes root. By season 2, it was clear that Abby had a favorite, Maddie. Abby's favoritism became glaringly obvious, and for Chloe, it meant being continually pushed to the background. Maddie was given the best solos, praised for her performance, and treated like the star of the ALDC. Chloe, on the other hand, would perform just as well, if not better, but would always find herself in second place, often in Maddie's shadow. While Maddie was not the cause of this favoritism, it was undeniable that she benefited from it. Abby's preference for Maddie created a deep division between the two dancers. Their bond began to crack as Chloe, hurt by Abby's constant comparisons to Maddie, started to feel like she wasn't good enough. For the first time, the friendly rivalry turned into something more intense. Chloe was always the runner-up, and Maddie was always the winner. But in the eyes of fans, Chloe was never less talented, just less celebrated. Underscore 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 underscore. Backstage drama. The friendship erodes. As the rivalry began to intensify, the once friendly moments between Chloe and Maddie became fewer and farther between. There were whispers backstage about their changing dynamic. While they still shared a lot of laughs and had occasional heart-to-hearts, the growing tension was palpable. Chloe was no longer happy just being friends with Maddie. She wanted the validation Abby was so quick to give Maddie, and she wanted the world to see her shine, not just Maddie. One of the most infamous moments of their rivalry was the national dance competition in season 2. Chloe had an exceptional routine, one that she had poured her heart into. But Abby had other plans. Despite Chloe's best performance to date, It was Maddie who took home the top prize. The look on Chloe's face as she stood beside Maddie with her second-place trophy said it all. Fans could see the hurt, the frustration, and the realization that, no matter how good she was never going to be Abby's favorite. Underscore 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 underscore. The solo drama, Chloe's final break with Abby. As if things weren't strained enough, it was during the solo drama that Chloe finally hit her breaking point. After being told she would perform a solo at Nationals, she worked tirelessly to perfect her routine. She was ready to prove she could stand on her own, without being in Maddie's shadow. But Abby, ever the manipulator, had other plans. At the last minute, she pulled Chloe's solo and gave it to Maddie instead, stating that Chloe wasn't ready. This moment was the tipping point. Chloe's exit from the show was heartbreaking, but it was also a huge turning point in her journey. It was clear that Abby had pushed her too far. For Chloe, the betrayal wasn't just about a dance routine. It was about being continuously overlooked and undervalued, while Maddie was put on a pedestal. Chloe knew that leaving the ALDC was the only way to reclaim her dignity, but it wasn't easy. It was the end of a chapter, not just for her, but for her complicated relationship with Maddie. Underscore 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 underscore. Maddie and Chloe after the show. The rivalry continues. After Chloe left Dance Moms, it seemed like the rivalry was over, but the tension didn't disappear overnight. Maddie went on to become a global sensation, starring in music videos, acting, and cementing her place as one of the biggest stars to ever come out of the ALDC. Meanwhile, Chloe made her own name as a model, actress, and dancer, taking her time to heal and grow after her tumultuous years in the studio. But the shadow of their rivalry still loomed large. Chloe, in interviews, expressed her frustration with how things went down. She shared how hurt she felt by the favoritism and how it was never easy being compared to Maddie constantly. Maddie, on the other hand, rarely spoke about the specifics of her relationship with Chloe, but fans couldn't help but wonder, was there still a friendship beneath the surface, or had it all been a mirage? Then came the moments of reconciliation. The occasional Instagram shout-out. A friendly post here and there. It was clear they weren't enemies, but could they ever be friends again? Only time would tell. Underscore 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 underscore.